Alrighty. Looks like we are live. Hello, everyone. Thank you so much for joining for yet another Moonshire Monday. Thank you all for being here. I should be live on Twitch and on YouTube at this point. Music is playing. Looks like we're good to go. Hi, everyone. We got a few people in chat already. Thank you so much for joining. We got Defected. We got Nikki. Cacticrown, thank you so much for being here today. If I don't sound fully up to it and into it right now, it's because I am still very sick. I am very sick, but there's no stopping Moonshire Monday. Do you have a list of your music playlist? I really like it. Wouldn't like something similar. So all these songs I'm playing now are MP3s from my personal library. So they're just songs that I've gotten over the years from most of my favorite games. So it's all Nintendo music mostly. I can't really share it publicly because Nintendo is keen on taking down. Like when you share individual songs, you're not supposed to do that. So I'm not going to be doing that. But playing it on my stream is something that I like doing, and Nintendo is really nice to allow people to do that because I think they have the right to copyright claim anyone that uses their music. I know that certain companies do. Like last stream, I was playing a song from Final Fantasy VII, actually the original, and it got claimed. So YouTube has this really cool thing where you can use if you get claimed on a specific song and a specific part of your video, it will just automatically remove the song from the background. So it automatically uses AI or something to remove the audio. It's really nice because otherwise I would have to either cut that section out or demonetize the video, which I didn't want. Can I post the list? I'll post it at some point. I'm sorry, not right now. Maybe I guess I could show it. Yeah, I'll show what I can. So these are the. I hope this is showing up. There we go. You can kind of see that. We got Animal Crossing, Bomberman, Donkey Kong, Final Fantasy. So I had to remove some songs for Final Fantasy because the Final Fantasy VII songs were getting removed, or that's what got claimed last stream. So yeah, it's basically I just found all my favorite songs over this. I mean, I've been building up this collection for a long time, even though it doesn't look like that many. It took so much time, and also they have the right title and everything too. It's all really nice. Although this isn't Nintendo, this is from Persona 5, but I haven't had any problems playing Atlas music either. Nikki Dev, can you post the list? I'll join the Discord and I'll send it to you. But I don't want to really post it on my YouTube channel. Oh my goodness, my voice is gone. It is gone. VLC, yeah, I use VLC. I'm not liking it too much. It's not running well on my PC. I think that it's just I don't know what it is. And another problem I'm having with VLC is if I play an MP3 and then I play a different MP3, it'll open a new instance of VLC rather than using the currently opened instance. And there's a setting for that, and I changed it, but it wouldn't accept the change. It's so annoying. It's driving me nuts. So I might change over to something different at some point. David Lake, first time on stream. Thank you for joining. Appreciate that. Use the browser in VLC? Oh, I don't think I needed to use that. I like Windows or Windows Explorer for browsing music. Am I using Godot? I'm using this framework called Love2D. Sorry, my camera is wobbly. See, look. Woo. I'm trying to prevent that. Change the mouse cursor already? No. I'll change that at some point. I know I need to. What I need to do is actually make it so that you can change the size of it, which I did at one point. You used to be able to go into the setting. Oh, Uh-oh, I crashed the game. Hello, Chalcade, how are you, bro? I am very sick. I'm really doing my best, but I am not feeling well today. Okay, we got source, let's see, we need to go to loot 264. Okay, so the game crashed here in this file. 264. Loot.sprite. So it can't find this .sprite. Oh, you know what? No. Here, I could just do this, and this will help prevent it. Have I fixed for Mac yet? It does work for Mac. What I need to fix is when I upload 0.4 later this month, I need to include some extra files for Intel specifically. My brain's gonna lose energy using it to fight little guys. Sometimes you gotta do what you gotta do. So, okay, good. That prevented the crash. It crashed because there's no sprite for this item here. This item? I can't tell if I... Oh, there we go. But I was talking about the settings for something. Oh, the other thing I'm working on is, look, I changed all the text to not be a pixel art font. So what are people's thoughts on this? Is that I changed the text and the logo here. It's the high-res version. It's high-res fonts. I'm curious if people have preferences on that or not. But in my opinion, I've been working with pixel art fonts a lot over the past few years, and I have not been very happy with how they look. The font looks out of place. I agree it doesn't look quite as in place as the old font did, but I like the old one, TBH, looking clean. So far we're 50-50. It's hard to tell if people like it or not. It's very clean, and it's so here's the pros. Okay, let's bro, do you know Go has been taken down by hackers? Like the site has been taken down by hackers? That sounds funny. Let me see. No, the site's still up. I don't know what you mean by that. Add a setting for the font. It's funny how quickly, like, whenever I make a controversial change, which is a lot, that happens a lot, people are very quick to say, just put it in the settings. But no, I'm gonna keep it consistent. So here's the pros for this new font. It is more accessible. It's more readable when it's like this. That is a very big plus, because pixel art fonts are ugly and hard to read. I shouldn't say hard to read, but they can be harder to read for some people compared to a traditional high-res font. This is better. The other thing is that a high-res font like this has support for all the glyphs, all of the multi-language characters, and finding that for a pixel art font is not... I've been having a lot of trouble with that. Make it dark mode for settings. That's a good idea. I wouldn't say that there's a light mode or dark mode right now. Sorry, I got sidetracked. I was listening to some sick beats. Again, Atlas hopefully doesn't copyright claim me. If they do, I'll just have to remove it from the playlist. Please tell me roadmap. I've stuck working with APIs. Not sure what you mean by that. What? You missed last week's stream because I was busy? No worries. I don't remember what I did last week. My brain is not... My brain is working at like 40% capacity right now. We will all get to the new font by next week. Yeah, basically. Okay, new font. That's what I was talking about. Is that this is much more readable, it's more accessible, and the cons, though, is I agree, this doesn't fit the style of the game as much as a pixel art font would. I do agree with that. TK40K, welcome in. Have I used Godot before? Not personally, but I've heard only good things about it. I think it'd be an awesome one to start with. It's growing in popularity. Ugh, I look so gross. Today is not my day. Well, we all have some of those days sometimes. Bro, please help. You are so good at coding. Help specifically with what? I love working with Godot. Yeah, I think Godot is something I'm going to be looking into at some point. Not until I'm done with this game, but I think Godot seems like it's a really good option just because it's open source and fully featured. Oh, man, I really feel bad. Where am I from? I'm from the U.S. I'm from Illinois, so kind of near the Chicago area. I'm missing some sounds. Yeah, when I slash, the sounds don't come out. That's weird. Why did I think you were Canadian for a while? Perhaps you could try Godot when you're taking a break from this game. Yeah, exactly. That's the plan. Is I'm sticking with Love 2D for now while I'm working on this game. I think this game is really suited well for Love 2D. I like it a lot. Ugh. Let's investigate why the sound effects aren't showing up for the slashing. So I think this happens in player attack. Effect lightning. Oh, I didn't fix these. Player.attack.sound. Renzen, how to know all commands of an engine, bro. I can't even do anything with documentation of Unity. Are you new to coding? Are you new to like working on software? Because if so, it is hard getting used to all that stuff. Dr. Chalcade, I am ill. Thank you for the medication. Well, if you come to my doctor's office today, you are gonna get sick because I am sick. Renzen, if you're new to Unity or anything, follow tutorials specifically for how to make a really simple game. Something like Pong, something like Space Invaders. Really keep it simple, because if you jump right in and try to make like a complicated game, it's going to feel super overwhelming. And I think you're seeing that is Unity has a bazillion functions and a bazillion like things you can attach to certain components. I don't know. There's so many things you can work with, and when you don't know what you don't know, it's just gonna be too much. So follow like a YouTube tutorial series on Unity to ease you into it, specifically making a really simple game. And when you branch off to do your own game after that, again, keep it really simple, just because even a game like Pong, where just things bounce back and forth, even a game like that is really challenging. Like when you're starting off, it's really hard because there's a lot of fundamentals that you need to figure out. It's the same with anything. Like if you're learning a new instrument, you can't just pick up like some classical Beethoven music and play it perfectly. It's gonna sound like crap. You have to start with like Mary Had a Little Lamb. Start with the easy stuff, just because it is hard starting off on an instrument. It is hard work practicing your scales and practicing all that boring stuff for a long time before it sets in. So I was going to fix the sound effects. So player.attack.sound. I think that the sounds are set in weapon stats. Sound. Big... Oh, yeah. Yeah, these are still bad. So I need to fix this. Allfather, hi, welcome in. Hydrate, thank you. Ranzor, how are you approaching weapons? Are you creating them as a separate sprite and have their own states like damage, etc.? Yeah, that is what I'm doing. So these are all the weapons I have in the game currently, and like you can see the sword has all these different attacks attached to it, or the greatsword and stuff. So they all have their own stats, they have their own attacks, and they have their own sounds, and the sounds are what's broken. Crown Sheep, welcome on Twitch. You started with Scratch? Yeah, I think Scratch is a great one to start with. Eat Fast says start with assembly, basic. That's a little bit complicated to start with, I'd say. Let's see. So I need to fix these sounds. So right now I have it configured where it's just like it just says slash, but I need to change that to something different. Slash. Actually, because I'm redoing how all the sounds in the game are set up. I'm gonna do. Okay, here we go. I need to put them in this section here. Do your weapons have some effects, like give bleed to an enemy, slow speed? Some of them do. I'm not gonna say specifically. Right now, like the biggest one is fire. You can put some enemies on fire. When does the update come out? Before the end of the month, for sure. Before the end of the month, this new version will be playable in some way or another, and that's the goal. And I really want to keep it because I've been delaying it for a bit too long. So these sounds I need to put in here, and I've been moving the sounds around and editing them. Whoops, I don't want to show all that. So here I have some sound effects, and I'm going to move them into a new folder where the sounds are supposed to be. Stab, slash, flame. We'll start with these few. What is my day job? So I used to be a software developer. I worked for Microsoft, but a year ago I quit, and I do this full time now. Sorry, this isn't super interesting, but I'm getting some files organized. So I'm going to change this to slash big. I'm going to change this one to stab big. Or yeah, I'll call it stab big, that's fine. So I need to include these. Slash stab. That was cool. That was me using AI to write that. By the way, is this game online? So on Steam you can find Moonshire, and you can play the version from 6 months ago, but this current version I'm still working on. Past, welcome in. I'm so sick. I am very, very sick. He's not wrong when he says make simple game as your first project. I wasted my time for a month trying to create my first game, which was too complex for my skill level. I completely agree. Like, imagine if you sat down on a piano and you had this big complicated sheet music in front of your face of like Beethoven orchestra music, and that's what you were starting with as your first song to play. It's like that would be way too overwhelming, and it's really easy to fall into that because like you get really inspired, like with instruments, for example. I remember watching someone play guitar, and I'm like, wow, that's so cool. And then I bought a guitar, and then I tried to play the same song that he was playing, and it was obviously way too complicated. I had to start with something simpler, and that's a big pain because I was inspired to play this one specific song on guitar, and I can't do it. I have to do something different for a long time before I can do that, and that's just discipline, I think. All I want for Christmas is Moonshire. Maybe the demo version will be out by Christmas. That'd be awesome. Beethoven was born in the same country you were born in. That's cool. Yep, I was doing complex physics as my first game. Yeah, that's pretty typical. So am I good at guitar now? Yeah, I am. But I wouldn't say I'm good. I'm able to play like any chords. So I could look up any song, like a pop song on the radio, and play along to it. I like to say I'm a campfire guitarist, so I can do that sort of stuff. I was going to go big with my first game, but game jams made me face reality. Game jams are a really good idea because they force you to keep the scope small. They force you to cut your ideas down to the very bare bones. Hello from Portugal. Hi, welcome. Do you have any scope? Do you know which part of the game you are already in? Is there much left to finish? There is so much left to finish. And I do know the scope now. And the scope throughout the course of this project has been shrinking slowly and slowly. It's been getting smaller and smaller and smaller because I started off thinking this game is going to be huge. There's going to be so many bosses. It's going to be a big open world. There's going to be so much stuff to do. There's going to be procedural dungeons. Excuse me. I'm so sick. And I was just so excited about what I wanted to turn this game into. And it just got too big, and it got too overwhelming. So I had to tone it back, bring it back to reality. So it's smaller, and in fact, like for example, like I turned all of the maps into much smaller versions. They're like a quarter of the size, and then there's a fewer number of them too in this map section. It's just a 4x5 grid. Maybe I have a surface and sky and underground section too, but it's much more compact, and I understand the scope a lot better now, but there's still a lot of work to go. I'm currently I'm experiencing the pain of the 80-20 rule. The 80-20 rule means that the first 80% of the game takes 20% of the time, and the remaining 20% of the game takes 80% of the time. So it feels like everything's going at a snail's pace right now because I was able to get a lot of work done on the game really fast, but now I'm at the point where I'm just making it all better. I like how the map turned out. I like how clean it is, but one thing I want to change about it is I think I'm going to reorganize these like these squares to be a little bit bigger and have less of a gap between them. And I think with less of a gap, it'll make the map look even better. I love your videos and your personality. Wish best of luck trying to rewrite everything. Thank you. I really am like rewriting everything. It's kind of a big pain. Well, it's my own problem. It's because I don't need to rewrite everything, but when I'm thinking about, oh, well, if I'm gonna scale this game out, I'm gonna make it a full thing. I want the bones to be good, because building new bosses off of a foundation that's not very good, I don't know, it makes everything take longer. How long have I spent on the game? It's debatable, but I would say 4 years. Bro, what about a concept like craft, campfire, sleep, taming creeps? Yeah, so that sort of stuff runs in. That's a newer wave of game that's like a survival type, and that's not what I'm going for, because mechanics like sleeping or crafting or food and hunger, those sort of things, personally, I'm actually not a big fan of, just because they slow the pace of the game down and they force you to do mundane actions, which I don't like. But they fit into certain types of games better than this one. So this is more Zelda-like. So there's none of that overhead stuff. It's just like run around and hit stuff with swords. Not every game should have sleep and hunger features. Yeah, it just depends on the game. What's come to your mind when hearing hardest part of game development? Level design. Level design is personally the hardest part because it takes so much time. I guess it's not necessarily the hardest part, but it's the most time consuming, and it's the part that I spend the most time on. I'm gonna fix these slash sound effects real quick because I keep forgetting to do that. So I have these included now, but now in weapon stats, instead of saying slash, we're going to say weapon underscore slash, because that's the new format for these string sounds. Small slash sound. Yeah, so I need to put this in, and then this is weapon underscore stab. We're getting rid of that. That's fine. So that should fix the sound effects for the regular sword. Yeah, personally, I always enjoyed level design. Enemy design, though, oof. It is always funny how everyone has their own preferences. I think I think enemy design is more. Let me take a step back. I actually love level design. I love it a lot now. I used to not like it, but I like it now, having worked on this game for a while. But it is still the hardest, and it is still the most time-consuming, even though I do like it. By the way, what do you think about college degrees these days in tech? CS degrees feel useless these days. I feel like going for game design, but at the same time not sure. Well, a game design degree is definitely not as valuable as a computer science degree, just because a computer science degree is more broad. It can be applied to software, and it can be applied to any sort of tech, whereas a game development degree is hard set on the games industry, and working as an employee in the games industry, which is what you'd be doing with a college degree. Working as an employee in the game industry is not fun. Everyone says it sucks because there's layoffs all the time, and you get put on crappy projects. And I don't think that it should be anyone's goal to be an employee at a game company, because you're opening yourself up to be taken advantage of. There's so many people that want to be working at those companies, which means that they can just like replace you at any moment. And if that's something you want to work on, and that's something you do want to do, I don't think there's actually a problem with that. But know that it is a much more competitive field than something like software. And I understand that at the moment, computer science and tech is struggling a little bit. I don't know if that's going to recover. I don't know what the state of that is exactly. I know it's challenging, but calling a CS degree useless is silly. It's definitely not useless. And if you think that a game development degree is going to be easier for you to get a job, I'm sorry, that's just not true at all. You definitely are not going to have an easier time getting a job with a game development degree. I've known too many people that struggle with that sort of stuff. And the games industry, as in general, is kind of tough to make it in right now. I really would prefer people choose careers and degrees that will sustain them indefinitely, because if you have a solid job and money coming in, then you'll be able to work on games and do whatever you want in your free time. You'll have more free time than most people because you'll have money. But if you choose a degree that doesn't earn you money, or that you struggle to make ends meet with, you're going to be spending so much time stressed about finances that you won't be able to make games, and that's not fun. So many of my friends have jobs in cybersecurity, so jealous. Sometimes they seem burned out, but I mean, they can afford a house and family. Yeah, that's the thing, is that a job is a job. Jobs are not really fun. They are hard work. It is hard. Companies aren't going to give you $100,000 if it's easy. They're going to give you $100,000 if you are skilled at something challenging and are willing to put in the work to improve their situation and bring value to a company. And that makes it sound really harsh. So working as a front-end dev, my main job, while doing game dev as a side project, might be the best. I think so, yeah. That's kind of what I did. Thanks for these insights, Kyle. It's sometimes I feel bad for saying harsh things like this, but I think that it's better to hear harsh advice now than experience a harsh reality later, because I don't think that, imagine waking up 5 years from now and you have a game development degree and all of the jobs you've applied for ghosted you. It just wouldn't feel very good. It would make you want to quit the whole industry. And I've known people that done that, because the university I went to is one of the few universities around here that has a game development degree. So I've known lots of people that graduate with that stuff. I've known plenty of people, and all I've known is struggle from them, or they just change careers entirely, because reality is you need money to live. And if you are not having a sustainable amount of money coming in every month, that's just the end of it. You need to do something else. So if your goal is to be a game developer, then you should do that by building up a skill set that's relevant to game developers. So build up your coding skills, build up your art skills, build up your sound design skills, your narrative writing skills, your web development skills, your business marketing skills. There's all kinds of stuff that goes into making games, and a degree that says game developer is not a requirement to being a game developer. In fact, I would say that's kind of a very shallow entry into the field. I think it's more important for you to have some skill that brings value to the development of a game. So coding, art, sound, music, narrative, business, marketing, there's all kinds of stuff like that. And the thing is, all of those fields, by the way, like, you can get a job at a company, you can get a job at, I don't know, at Valve or at Amazon Game Studios or at Riot Games, doing any of those things I just talked about. And sure, maybe if you had a game development degree, you could do those things too. But I think that you are much better off building up a skill set that's valuable to the industry and then applying for a specific job in your field that's game related. And I think that that would be a good way to do it. And then also, why that works out is, worst case, you can get a job outside the games industry, and then you'll be able to eat food. That part's important too, because a starving artist is not an artist for very long. I'm a software developer, 10 years of experience, and learned game dev as a hobby. Released my game last month. You released your game last month. Awesome. Renzen sends collections of materials. Yeah, so there's materials in my game, and you collect them by doing specific things. But it's not meant to be like an overbearing thing. It's meant to be like if you're wandering around and you happen to walk by a tree that has fruit on it, you just knock it down and grab it, and that's it, and you move on. It's not like you have to stop and harvest for a few seconds, or you have to stop and mine a rock for a minute to get all the resources. Personally, I'm not a fan of that. Speaking of which, gotta go to work now. Have a great day, guys. Thanks for stopping in. Appreciate you being here. Are you gonna have bosses like in A Link to the Past, where it's like a puzzle to beat them instead of just hit and dodge? I personally, so that's a good question, and I would say that I'm actually a bigger fan of bosses where you hit and dodge. I like the puzzle aspect of the Zelda bosses, because that's typical for Zelda games, is that the bosses aren't really an action challenge. They're more of an intellectual strategy challenge, where you have to figure out what you're supposed to do in order to actually hurt them. And I think there's a lot to say about that sort of boss, but one thing that a boss like that has problems with is replayability, because once you know how to beat a boss in a Zelda game, you just kind of do it, and then it's not very interesting. And again, like, there's a lot to say about that. Like, it's fun figuring out how to kill a Dodongo, but it's not very fun to kill a Dodongo. And that's kind of what I'm worried about, is that I think that it's more fun having an action-based fight compared to a strategy-based one, just because it makes replayability a lot more interesting. Because each time you do it, it's still fun and new. Where did the music bot go? I turned it off just because I couldn't get it working on both YouTube and Twitch. So what I'm thinking about doing is having it so it pops up on stream itself rather than posting a comment. But I'm not quite sure. Do you think when you finish the game that you will publish to somewhere like Steam? So it's on Steam and it will be published to Steam. So you can play the game right now. It's called Moonshire on Steam. It's an older version. Can you code the bot? The reason I'm having trouble with the bot is because YouTube streams are just different than Twitch streams, where Twitch, as soon as you're live, you're live. But on YouTube, you have to schedule a stream and then connect your streaming software to the stream instance, and then stream to the instance. It's less simple, and that's making the comment thing that I'm talking about annoying too. Majora's Mask N64 did a good job with the bosses since you have multiple ways to take them out. I love the bosses in Majora's Mask. I think that game has some of the best bosses. Because yeah, the first boss I remember specifically, that's a boss where you can kind of like slash at it and there's multiple ways to take it out. And same with the fish one for sure. I wouldn't say that the Stone Temple boss is, or the goat one, but the other two are. And the final boss is like that too, where you can do it in whatever way you want. How do you implement bosses, basic state pattern, or advanced technique like behavior tree? It's super complicated, and that's what I've been working on recently. Because if you go to, let's say boss stats, no, Croc. So this is one of the bosses of the game, and so every individual enemy has the animations defined. So it defines the speed of each animation and the name of each one. And then down here we have things like the health and the dimensions of the enemy. And again, so all of these are predefined properties for the enemy class or the enemy object type in Lua. And the enemy code is just going to take all this stuff. It's going to take this attack map, and it's automatically going to figure out which attacks to use in an intelligent way. But I know that doesn't really answer the question fully. Long story short is every enemy has an attack map, and this is a list of different attacks that the enemy can use. And it's going to intelligently choose which attack to use at any given moment, depending on the enemy's position, the player's position, the enemy's health, and any other sort of factors that might influence that. This looks simple yet complicated. I would say, well, so the idea is I want this file to be simple. And like this is a simple file, like 70 lines. That's a simple file, and it's also written in a way that anyone could write their own version of this. So if someone wanted to mod their own custom boss, they would make a file that looks a lot like this. And all I need to do is they could basically copy paste this code here, all of this file, and change the values around to match their new boss. And Pass says enemy AI is another complex thing to code. Yeah, it's very complicated. Stick jam in the back. Yeah, this is Mario Odyssey. So all of this code here gets interpreted. It gets interpreted by these files over here. There's like enemy action, anim, attack, defaults. So all of these enemy files here on the left, this is where the actual logic for the enemy happens. But all of this code over here on the right, this is just the configuration for it. It's like how much health does it have? What's its size? What attacks does it have? What's its mass? It's just all these little tweaks that are different for the individual enemy. Modding's gonna come? Yeah, modding is gonna come. I'm being very mindful of modding. Really, actually what I'm doing is I'm making it so that the game itself, how I develop, is how a modder would develop. How I made this crocodile boss is how a modder would make a crocodile boss. It's the exact same thing. There's not gonna be any difference. Because I made the code obfuscated behind all these files. Modders do not need to worry about any of this stuff here. All they need to worry about is creating an anim map, defining how much health the enemy has, and adding like a leap if they want it, adding a roar if they want it, and putting in an attack map, which is with all these attack things. So even though this looks complicated, it's way easier than like it does on the surface. Suganthan, hey Chalcade, sorry for spamming last session. No worries, thanks for apologizing. Rise up all the modding community. Yeah, I love mods. I bet that people could make... Excuse me. I think people could make better mods and better bosses than I would even be able to make. Because one thing I struggle with is art and pixel art. And I'm able to do an okay job with it, but I have to commission people to help me. Or to do most of the work, really, for the pixel art with the bosses. Because I want good-looking bosses. Good-looking bosses is a really important aspect of a game. Make the game support Linux, yeah. That is the plan. It needs to support Linux if I want that verified for Steam Deck badge. The game works for Steam Deck already. It works really well on Steam Deck. But it doesn't have the sticker for verified yet. And it needs to be Linux compatible. And Love2D is Linux compatible. It's not a big challenge getting the game working on Linux. But having multiple platforms to export to every build is very time consuming, so I'm waiting until the end before I do Linux. Honestly, it's going to be pretty cool seeing your own game getting modded by other people. I would love it if people did that. It's going to be a really cool moment. I'm starting very young with game development and have lots of time right now, but won't have much when you have a job. Yeah, I agree with that. So as much work as you can do now, that's great. But even when you have a job, just make it a habit of spending 1 hour per day, or a half an hour per day, working on your game just a little bit, or researching some new thing, or trying out a new framework, or just doing a little bit every day. No matter what your hobby is, if your hobby is art or music, or coding or whatever, or game development, do a little bit of it every day. Even really simple, basic, boring, garbage, like simple stuff. Like it's good to keep that habit. How to start practicing pixel art? So the beauty of pixel art is that it doesn't really take any skill to start. You just kind of start drawing pixels around, and it'll look really bad at first. But if you just keep iterating on your own work over and over and over again, it'll start to look better and better. And how to get better at, or how to start practicing, I actually think that making a little game and making your own characters for it, your own pixel art characters, that's how I learned. I started with Game Maker, and Game Maker has like a built-in sprite editor, and I would just draw my own characters and make them move around and draw the enemies and draw the weapons and stuff. And that's how I started off with pixel art, was doing all that in Game Maker. And now I do a lot of like editing off of base sprites, and I commission other people and I edit their work. And it's rare for me to build a sprite completely from scratch now, unless it's like a small object, like a weapon or a blade of grass or something like that. I spent 2 hours each weekday on 7 months to conclude my game. Yeah, I'm with you. How to create tile sets? I'll show. So all my tile sets are, I'd say most of them are based off of some paid asset pack. But this is like the terrain, for example. So these are the cliff sides. And it's organized like this where I'll be able to like click on any individual tile and use that in the map. And then when I take this tile sheet, by the way, this is just an image. Like this is just a PNG image that I have organized in a 16 by 16 grid, so that each of like the blue lines represent individual tiles. And then when I would go over into Tiled, the map editor, I'm able to use these individual tiles to draw in the map. And you can see, well, let's go over to this one. You can see those cliff sides and the individual grass stuff. All of that is taken from the tile set over here. This is the same image we were just looking at, but I'm able to click on individual parts and draw them in. By the way, what is your workflow from day to day? It's hard to say, because a problem I actually struggle with is not having a set schedule. I kind of just sit down and work when I want to, which means that I end up working the whole day, but with lots and lots of breaks in between. What I would prefer, I would love it if I could get into a schedule where I do all of my work the first half of the day, like up until 4 p.m. or something. And then after that, I'm just done working for the rest of the day. And I could just relax from 4 p.m. until I go to bed. Like a regular work day. I would prefer if I could do that, but instead I'm working from the time I wake up until the time I go to bed. But, you know, it's casual work. It's like I take a lot of breaks. I'm not actively working all the time. But it's not efficient in that way. Is this Godot? No, this is a... So this map editor is called Tiled. And the game engine I'm using is called Love 2D. Do you have one main class for every enemy, or do you code each one individually? There is one main class that all enemies, including bosses, are a part of. And then they just branch off into smaller subclasses from there. Ader, I love your game. Thank you. Appreciate that. Defected. I've asked this before, but does Tiled have auto tile? It does have auto tile. I'll show that. So I can draw like this, that cliffside, for example. Whoop. 1 second, I screwed something up. Oh, there it is. So if I go to terrain sets, terrain, elevation, that's how I draw in. That's how I draw in these cliffs, is it's auto-tiled like that. How many monitors do I work with? I just have one very big monitor. It's an ultra-wide. It's very, very big. Man, I am struggling. I don't know if you can even tell, but my nose is plugged up and my throat's sore, and I just feel like garbage. I'll probably be ending stream early today so I can stop talking so much, because this is kind of brutal. You should make an actual Discord for the game itself. Yeah, maybe once the game is more feature-rich, but right now I think that my current Discord is plenty to handle stuff like that for now. Saying your whole face is itchy? Ooh, that sounds bad. How do you use your tile set with Love 2D? So I use a library called Simple Tiled Implementation, and that takes the Love file that gets, the Lua file that gets exported from Tiled and imports it into Love 2D, and then in my draw function, I'm able to draw the individual layers. So we draw map layers. We're just drawing the layer, like the background layer, the base layer, the environment layer, the terrain layer, the elevation layer. All of these are layers that exist in my tiled map, and each layer gets drawn individually. Yeah, the Discord Chill Arcade basically is a Moonshire Discord server. That's the primary topic of discussion. It is easier in Unity. It probably is easier in Unity. I'd say most things are easier in Unity. Unity is feature-rich, and it has a bunch of built-in stuff. While Love2D is a framework, it's lightweight. You have to download a lot of, like, open-source libraries to fill in the gaps. One Discord for all your games is good. Yeah, I in this case, yes, for me, for sure. If I reached a point where, like, I, in 10 years, have 5 games and each of them are like a live service where they each have their own communities, then sure, we could split it up. But there's no need to split it up right now. The Discord server is good enough for as it is. It's way easier in engines that have an editor. Yeah, I'd say that games with an editor are generally easier to work with. But frameworks like this are still really fun to use, in my opinion. And also, it forces you to understand every aspect of it too. When you understand everything, it makes bug fixing a lot easier, and it makes just working with the game easier overall too. Hydrate, thank you, Allfather. Well, there will there be co-op in the game? I am working on that, but I haven't have anything finalized and nothing official yet. Your Discord holds all your game development endeavors, like 20 of them. Nice. That sounds like me. It took a long time for me to settle on Moonshire and keep this as my main game that I'm working on. You try staying up for me. Thank you. With C, you'd understand more. Yeah, possibly, because if I had to code the rendering process, or if I had to code this window here, I would probably understand the game a bit better. But the framework, Love2D, handles the rendering process. It handles the window, it handles the sounds, it handles all that stuff for me. And if I had to code it myself, I would understand the game better. And if a bug ever came up with the sound effects, for example, I would have an easier time fixing it because I would have an understanding on a fundamental C code level how it's working. But since I'm skipping that step and using a framework, that's just something I have to live with. Unfortunately, like, there's not going to be any problems with those things. Or I shouldn't say there's not going to be, but it's an established framework that has those fundamentals very solid, and I trust it. I haven't had any problems yet. Man, I am going to end stream now. I know it's only been less than an hour, but I am dying. My throat hurts, my nose is so stuffy, and my voice just does not sound very good. So I'm going to call it quits for the day. Sorry for the short stream, but I will be back next week, and I will be much healthier next week. But I really need a break. I am not feeling well. I'm done. Thank you all for being here, everyone on Twitch and everyone on YouTube. I really appreciate all the support. And like I said, I will be back next week. Thank you all. Bye, everyone.